We are now live.
Awesome. Cool. So this is Luis, project lead at Aragon, and this is going to be our second Aragon HQ meeting, and the first one that is going to be publicly available. The Aragon HQ meetings stand for Aragon headquarters, and basically everyone in the Aragon team, in the Aragon development team, and also people working on operations, communications, and everything that is not strictly development, we'll talk about what we have achieved during the month and kind of talk about the highlights and the things that we want to also achieve during the current month that has just started, which is September. So first one is Jorge, and he's going to talk about a bunch of very interesting things, and one of them is a very interesting highlight that we have that we're going to first announce in this streaming.
Sure, thanks, Luis. So yeah, I'm Jorge. I do tech here at Aragon, and the main thing that I want to talk about is kind of the findings that we have, that we found this month regarding the whole smart contracting part. So basically, as we communicated before, we decided for Aragon Core 0.4 to be a smart contracts only release, given that a lot of changes were going on, and also the fact that adapting given that we were going to do this big refactor at the front end to allow for more modularity and all that, it didn't make a lot of sense for 0.4 to be a full alpha release, and we were waiting for 0.5 to happen and have a full refactor of the contracts and a full refactor of the front end, and that kind of be like a full alpha and not lose time doing a kind of half-baked version as 0.4. So that's kind of what we've been focusing for the past months. And regarding the system, this just 3 weeks ago, we discovered some shortcomings in the design that we had pursued, and kind of we started evaluating them. The biggest problems that we found were regarding the BILO system. The BILO system, in short, it's kind of what decided when an action in the DAO is happening. It's the part of the code that decided, okay, the entity that is calling this action, are they allowed to perform this or not, basically. So when we built that, we built that on top of as a continuation of the previous BILO system, and the problem with that is that it was too tightly coupled with the current version of the app and the default apps that we were providing. So when it came time to say, okay, what do we do if two different entities, two different apps need to have access to the same action, or two different types of groups of users, or this action can be performed by a multi-sig, but it can also be performed by a voting. We figured out that system was a bit too rigid. And also, given that there were too many BILO systems, different things, it was very hard for the smart contract code to really understand what they were, and that made changing BILOs very, very dangerous. Because if you were installing a brand new app for kind of doing a very silly thing, the action to set a BILO for that app would be the same as to change the permission to kill the DAO or to change the kernel reference. So that was a very, very dangerous thing, and that the trade-off between usability and security was very, very hard. And also we figured out that people were really, really struggling to kind of get the model for kernel apps and organs and all that. And that made it difficult for people to contribute to our code base, because the main thing was we put the DAO, everything that was going on through the DAO, the action started through the DAO proxy, and then the DAO decided what was the organ or the app that was responsible for knowing how to do that action, and that kind of was designed a lot for the traditional companies model that we had in previous versions. That at the time that when you wanted to extend that, it was too complex, and yeah. So we've been thinking a lot about how we could improve this system, because it's very tricky. Once you deploy a smart contract system on chain, like upgrades are very tough, and people should be very, very careful with that. So we decided to kind of rethink what we wanted to accomplish at the kernel level, kind of for making a very much improved design for like DAOs that will be running for decades. So we decided that instead of having this kernel-centric design that we had for previous version, where everything had to be routed through DAO and all that, we have thought about having a very, very tiny kernel that just has like a permission system, an ACL that is shared among all the components of the DAO, and also takes care of app upgradability. This kind of allows us to have simpler apps because the fact that we now can run people can run different instances of the same app, like in the same DAO, which wasn't allowed in the previous design. This allows us to reduce a lot of complexity from the apps, because as you can run multiple instances of the same app, say you have two tokens, the app doesn't have to have logic to support infinite tokens, but the app just has the logic to support one token. And if you want to have multiple tokens, you can install multiple instances of the app, which makes everything easier to reason about. And also we are relying on the kernel for upgradability and permissions at the app level. But it's important that the apps are their own thing, and like people will interact with the apps directly. And it's just that the apps that are a part of the same DAO, these apps can rely on the same kernel for upgradability and permissions. So they don't have, all the apps don't have to build it themselves. So that makes it very easy for smart contract, for third-party developers to just build their app. They will just have to make their app conform to a very, very basic server class, and then they will have the advantage of having the ACL, the permissions for free, and also the upgradability for free, which is pretty cool. And yeah, we're focusing on like reducing as much complexity from the smart contract code base as possible, and we think that with these changes we could as much as half the smart contract code base, which is great. This will come at the expense of having more smart logic at the front end, but that's not a problem, because the front end can be easily upgradable, and there's not the same security threat. And also we've been focusing on how do automatic upgrades work, and how all this comes together with the Aragon package manager, and we're feeling very, very, very strong about this. And the thing is, like, people that don't want anything to do with their DAO, they just want to run it, they will be able to very easily be on a kind of like an automatic upgrade path, and then the DAO will upgrade for them. This won't be like what everyone wants to do. That's not something I will do with my DAO when I use it. But for people that are just not going to be on top of everything, they will be able to just have automatic upgrades of everything. Then the new permission system is kind of the biggest thing about this. Like someone else is going to go into more detail with this, but the main point about this is that it's 100% entity-based. The previous bylaws model, we had like 6 different kinds of bylaws that meant different things. This is a voting bylaw, this is an address bylaw, this is a status bylaw. Right now, we're refactoring everything to be 100% entity-based, which means, okay, if this address is performing this action, then I will allow it. But the entity performing the action can mean very different things. Like it can mean it's a voting, it can mean this person is the member of a group, or it can mean a lot of things. I will go through this very quick because someone else is going to talk about it. But yeah, what the state of all this, we kind of started, like, we've been working on this new design for 2 weeks. The spec for the kernel and the apps, the basic apps that we want to provide, is almost ready. We have 16 pages. You can see that on the right. The document has gone a bit out of hand, but I think everything's very well spec'd out, and it will be very easy to build and for people to use this as a documentation. And yeah, there's a proof of concept for the ACL, the upgrade mechanism, and the Aragon package manager. So yeah, what are the next steps? It's actually building this. We want to start peer reviewing the spec with industry, with people we respect, so we can get feedback. At the same time, we will start implementing parts of it that are very, very, like, they're not likely to change. For some of the apps, they will stay the same for sure. And then at the end of the month, we'll start planning the security audits to start executing them as soon as possible. And yeah, other highlights of this month, I attended the ENS workshop in London, and Aragon sponsored a social event there. And it was such a great event. I'm so excited about the Ethereum name service. Like, I personally think it's one of the biggest projects on Ethereum. The amount of things that can be built on top, it's incredible. For example, we at Aragon, we're building our company registry in the ENS. We're also probably building the Aragon package manager on top of the ENS. And there are a lot more ideas that we could build on top that we're holding out. But yeah, this is everything for me. I'm very excited about the new iteration of Aragon OS. It's going to be great. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jorge. This was an awesome explanation of the whole re-architecture thing. So now we have Maria. So if you can share your screen. Okay, there it is. Cool.
Okay, so this month I have been working on in terms of operations, especially in the performance bonus plan. We want to set up a program to incentivize the team to reach quarterly goals, and we are going to pay that that bonus in AENT, sorry. Also, I have been working with some service providers, like opening accounts for Aragon to be able to send payments regarding some of our expenses, and also the payment of salaries for the team whenever we want to. Any member of the team wants to receive part of the salary in fiat. Sometimes making a transfer, fiat transfer, is very complicated to some countries like Colombia. Also, I have been working on sponsorships that we think that makes sense for us. And as Jorge mentioned, one of those is it was the sponsorship for the ENS meetup, and also for the DevCon 3 that is coming. In terms of strategy, I have been working in community incentive, in coming up with ideas in order to start making the community to participate in several things that we want they to participate, such as we are going to organize by the month of November, more or less, a hackathon. So we want people to participate, tech and non-tech people to participate, giving us ideas on what they would like us to, or what they would like the developers to be working on in terms of modules for Aragon. And also, big part of my job is on a daily basis talk to potential users, projects, organizations that would like to use Aragon for running their projects, and also I've been working in key partnerships that I cannot say, but they are very exciting. Some of them, and they are more or less medium term, more than short-term partnerships. And for the next month, I'll be concentrated in terms of strategy, in continuing working on those incentives. This month was more or less like the idea stage of those incentives, but this month, and with the help with Datu, we are going to put up already some ideas on our governance repo on GitHub, ideas with some requirements or kind of rules for people to participate, and how are we going to incentivize, and what are we going to of course A&T it's going to be part of the incentive, and so we will be publishing everything on GitHub. Also, we are going to be working on route to market. We want to, before the launch of the beta of Aragon, we really want to have super clear who our target are, our organizations, that those target organizations are for us, and what is our clear road to market. Also, one thing that I have been working on, but this month I couldn't dedicate as much time as I would like to, is the venture fund. I think I already mentioned that this venture fund in one of our community meetings, and so the idea is for Aragon to have a fund and have like loans for the people, for the network, for the Aragon organizations, or also a fund to invest on Aragon organizations. And we want to do that with the community on board, and also with some experts that could help us come up with ideas to how to invest in our network. And another thing that I'm very excited about, and I want to start working on it this month, is some guidelines. Specifically, we want to have like a general guideline by the time that we launch on the operational side of the DAOs, like how they could do to pay taxes, to hire employees, to make payments, and so that is not going to be a legal advice or a legal recommendation. It's just a guideline. It's going to be a creative process that probably is going to give us some actionable ideas that maybe we can run ourselves, like, I don't know, partnering with some of the projects that could help us with in this regard, or just setting up something ourselves for the Aragon organizations. And in terms of operations, we are right now hiring operations and administrative assistants. So I really want to, and if anybody that is listening to us today is interested, please apply. We are looking for a kind of young profile that, even though if that person is going to be working on very administrative things at the beginning, we are just starting, so that person can evolve as much as he or she wants within the team, and that's it.
Super, awesome. So now it's time for Tim.
Hey. All right, to share my screen. Yeah, I think you should see that. Hi, so my name is Tim Lutz. This is my August update. I'm a contract developer working with Jorge in the backend. So Jorge mentioned, just confirm, y'all can hear me okay, right?
Yeah, we can see.
All right, cool. Just to, like Jorge mentioned earlier, that we worked on some overhaul of the accounting, of the permissions and authorization, basically making the bylaws a bit more simple to use in the other apps, and the permissions a bit more granular. I think it's going to make things easier to reason about. The whole lines of code for that are about 60 lines of code. It's much easier to reason about than before. Working on updating the permission, or updating that in the accounting app. And also with the accounting app is making reoccurring payments and invoices. A lot of it's based on, or the fundamental part of the reoccurring part is from Piper, I think Piper or Pipper, Miriam, Basically, it's using cron. It's a simplified version of it. It doesn't allow subdivision of time, but like either a whole number or any number. And the cool thing about this is it's going to be extremely flexible, allowing roughly any type of scheduling for any sort of event. So you could do something like daily. Here, I'll show you an example of the format. So just to go into the nerdy details for half a second, if you see on the bottom here, oops, you can do every day at midnight or the first day of the month or even like 9 a.m. on a Friday. And that's going to be super cool because some of the use cases are going to allow us to, I don't know, pay an external contract for every Friday over the next 5 weeks. Or if we need to do a weekly invoice to a client, or when we have dividends, those can be paid out on the first of the month. And all of this could be using this, use the same interface basically, with the same flexibility. And also it'll be the same backend logic, I guess, from the perspective of like recurring payments. If you want to do a one-off schedule, let's just say you want to send this one or call this one function or send this one transaction next month, just one time, from the logic in the contract, it's basically the same thing. It's just matching a date that happens exactly one time. But that's about it. So I'm looking forward to this, between replacing the bylaws and having the simplified authentication and working on the recurring invoices and payments. Got good things in the work. Yeah, also, I moved to Thailand. I saw this sign a couple of days ago, and it kind of like, it got to me because we're like doing good stuff with open source. And I really like this saying, is like doing good cause leads to good effect. And I think we have a good team, and I know we give people the ability to work together easier. And I really like that. And I just wanted to share that. That's all.
Super. Yeah, thanks a lot, Tim. So now is time for Tatu.
Hello. Let me just grab this window. Yeah. All right. So here we go. No, here. Okay. So starting with the community part. Here's our community statistics for August. The total growth of the overall total in all the platforms was 40.75%. The Twitter gained over 6,000 followers. There was Reddit gaining a lot, like over 300 subscribers. Slack, as you can see, has been pretty flat. There's not been that much interest, but there's over 500 new members in August. YouTube views have been going up. Hopefully with this HQ meeting, we'll have even more. And GitHub has been slow. It's also pretty flat out. There's small growth, but that's something we can work on. So regarding community, I've done work on starting AGP or Aragon's governance proposal number 5, which is migration to an open source messaging platform, which this is a proposal that we started for the Ethereum community for multiple projects to migrate to an open source alternative of Slack altogether. We've got some great response. There's been interest from several projects, and we are now at a phase where we know that we're going to be moving forward with the proposal, but we're still waiting to see if there's interest from other projects. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that soon. Then we released our transparency framework, and we have just recently deployed an anti-scam bot to Slack, which hopefully can help us deal with the phishing attacks and scammers. So the transparency framework was worked by the team. We did a blog post about this, and this is now the framework that shows human-readable descriptions of all the transactions that are made out or in out from the multisig of the Aragon Foundation, both in Ether and Aragon network tokens. So here you can see that some funds were transferred and where they went, how much was sent. This is all live, and you can find the link at our blog or just going to transparency.aragon.one. On the communications side, well, there was the Why Transparency Matters blog post, which was a big one for us. This introduces the Aragon transparency model that we are using. These public meetings are one part of it. The transparency framework for the funds is a part of it, and also our open source code. So go read that if you haven't. We also published our token buyback transparency report. We have done some buybacks, and there's a blog post about that if you're interested to hear more. We did some interviews with the International Business Times and ETH News this month as well. About the HEB5, this is, as said, a proposal to the Ethereum community, or mostly to the projects in this space. Our next steps is going to be determining, are we gonna, or do we want to migrate over to Rocket Chat or Riot? There's pros and cons to both ones. We've done a textual form of showcasing the differences or the pros and cons of each platform. You can read it at the HEP5 proposal. That is one of our governance proposals, public and open for discussion at GitHub. I haven't had really any blockers during this month. Okay, there's some old months there. So, as I said, next steps will be gradually moving forward with the HEP5 migration plan, discussing the plan with the other projects that are supporting the proposal. Then I really should get working on the wiki. We're going to be doing more announcements and more blog posts, of course, media posts and interviews when we get a chance. And we are also, as always, growing the community and trying to get the word out about the things that we're doing at Aragon. That's it for me.
Super. Yeah, thanks. Good work on AEP5. I'm gonna also talk about that. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen now. Okay, working it. You guys see me?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Luis, project lead, and this month I have been primarily working on making the first team offsite happen. So we're gonna publish a blog post soon on what was this and why did we do this offsite, and basically what was it. But basically we got together as a team, and since we are working remote, we work together in the same house for a week, and a lot of good things happened for being together there. So you can also play to find team here in this photo. That's an interesting game. I will give you some tips on that. Yeah, so a lot of work was in organizing that and making it happen. We had a lot of trouble with logistics, but in the end, it was a success. So on the ops side, I've been working with Maria, and thanks a lot, Maria, for working on the whole service agreements and setting up operations using debit cards, and basically getting up to the speed so we can pay salaries and we can do everything as a normal kind of organization. Been also collaborating with Tatu on AGP5. I have to really congratulate Tatu on his amazing work on getting this off the ground. Like, you know, we thought about creating this proposal and we were wondering if like 5-6 projects could like come in and we could like all migrate at the same time. And it was a huge success. Like basically, you know, we already have like 6 projects and it's been like, I don't know, 9 days since the proposal was published. So this was great work, and I try to also contribute to it as much as possible. Talking to people, talking to different alternatives and projects. So yeah, on the communication side, I also helped Tatu. He also did an amazing work on the multi-sig transparency, but he already talked about that previously, so it was great. And regarding 0.5, I helped with Aragon OS and basically got together with Jorge. Jorge came to my house to work on that full time for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days until we got something out that made sense to share with the rest of the team. And so that was kind of my highlight productivity wise, because that was a lot of thought and it was crazy to actually get to the point in which the system would work, and all the permission system kind of made sense. And also I was working with Natalia, our designer, on the new interface designs for 0.5 and the look and feel for them, and also the key features we should remove or add for this version. So this is well, all the designs are public now in our GitHub page, but we are kind of working on them and seeing what changes after the new architecture. But this is how it looks for the people that haven't looked to our GitHub page yet. It looks great compared to what we have now. So yeah, congrats to Natalia for that. I had no blockers this month, to be honest. I mean, obviously, like having to do like a lot of administrative work and operations work until we have our new admin in. It's a hassle, but you know that will happen in the next weeks, I guess. So next steps, like, you know, for me, I'm very happy that this month I got to work a lot on the product compared to previous months. So I'm gonna work on finishing off the UI spec for 0.5. There are a lot of things that are changing since the new architecture and Aragon OS are introduced. So I have to work on like finishing off the UI spec, probably simplifying a lot of the UI so we can work faster and delivery on time. Organization-wise, as I said, like we are hiring a new executive assistant. So Maria is working on that, and I also want to help her with that. And after we have that done, I want to work with that person to organize the next offsite. I think we should like really plan ahead of time because, you know, basically we're all over the world. We need different visas for different countries, and so we really need to do this. And yeah, we have to keep enhancing reporting. The offsite really helped enhancing reporting a lot, and so now we have a new structure. We have this call on Monday in which we all talk about what we have done during last week, what we are going to do during this week, and so I really want to keep polishing that until we feel all right with reporting. And yeah, keep focused on product. I think I'm so happy to be working on product and not working on like signing stuff all day or things like that. So I'm extremely happy to be working on 0.5 with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, man. It's so good to have you back working on product.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I'm so excited. Cool. I think we should cut off the live stream and the meeting. I don't know if we have any questions from anyone. Do we, Tatu?
No, this time we don't have any questions, at least so far. So no.
Awesome. Yeah, for the listeners here, if you have any question, remember that we usually have these monthly events, these community meetings in which you can also ask any question. They are kind of AMA. You can also jump into our Slack, which is aragon.chat. You can reach us out via Twitter as well, Aragon Project. And we'll keep doing these HQ meetings each month. So it's last Friday of the month. This meeting was actually kind of off date, but we're gonna try to make them the last Friday of every single month. So yeah, thanks for listening.